Hey, you kids, cut that out. Don't you know there's only one Spider-Man?
Hey everybody, this is Perch. I have to start this video over again. Just my head's in a different place. I started the video and I had the radio on. Lil Jon is just going on and on, and I just start talking. I'm like, wait, something's off here. Oh, I still have the radio on, so I should have. I don't know. Who knows? Uh, I don't know what to tell you. How could I completely tune out Lil Jon? I don't know. Anyway, so this mail goes in defense of the Clone Saga. I want to say on the offset, I didn't like the Clone Saga. It's one of those kind of different. People's opinions of this have changed. When the Clone Saga came out, there was a decent amount of people who liked it. It didn't sell terribly. It, in fact, sold fairly well, and people were into it. And then a couple years later, it was hated. Suddenly, it was like, oh, this is one of the worst things that Marvel's ever done. And it was a lot of revisionist history of what people were buying and reading at the time. And I remember a customer who was like super, super into it, loved it, and in fact had asked for, one of the harder pull box things, especially in the 90s, was like every time the character makes an appearance, pull it. And so, anything that made an appearance with the Clone Saga, the guy was into. And then, suddenly, a couple years later, the guy's like, "Oh man, that was one of the worst things Marvel ever did." Like, well, you funded it, my friend. I mean, you were all over it anyway. So let's get into this mail and see. But I'm curious to get your take. Did you like the Clone Saga? Good, bad, indifferent? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. But here we go. It says, hey Perch, in your Kingdom Come video, you asked for fans of the Spider-Man Clone Saga to write in and give their take of why they are fans of it. In the 80s, I grew up reading the original Batman stories and those pulp collected editions from the library. In the 90s, I was introduced to Marvel through the X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons. That's what got me interested in tracking down a comic book store and collecting comics for the first time. I remember being disappointed in the X-Men comics that I bought. For some reason, I'm not sure why or what I expected to be different, but I wound up wandering around the store and picking up Spidey comics. There were some early Clone Saga issues, and I had no idea what was going on. Who was Ben? Kane? What was going on here? My LCS had a large, albeit incomplete, supply of back issues, so I set to figure out what was going on and piece the story together. Remember back when nothing was collected in trade paperback except for classic stories like Dark Phoenix? And if you missed an issue, it was a crapshoot to track it down. Memories. Yeah, those are memories. I remember really liking the brothers aspect of Peter, Ben, and Kane. The Jackal was sort of a father with Peter as the golden child, Ben as a middle child living in his shadow, and Kane as a troubled bad brother. As a middle child in a similar situation, it resonated with me. From talking with people at the shop and friends at school, I realized it was unusual for companies like Marvel to break their character stories like this. We had the usual debates. Some were upset that Peter they had read for years as a clone, and all the stories didn't count anymore. Some, like Ben, some others said that the stories would reset back to normal at the end. I think that I especially liked drawing the different costumes. They're similar but different. That was enough to excite my amateur artistic mind. I dropped in and out of regular collecting over those 2 years. It was a lot to keep up on my limited budget as a kid. But I was there for the end, and I remember being disappointed with what followed. It was a very weird time for Spider-Man comics. It definitely was. There was some... Yeah, remember the other? I don't know. I always thought that was completely a shit storyline. Far worse than anything that they did in the Clone Saga. I wasn't a big fan of it, but that other storyline was... making Peter into an actual spider. No. Anyway, when they started collecting this big epic collection 10 years later, I remember being excited at the nostalgia and enthusiastically buying every volume. They really didn't hold up in hindsight, but that's not how nostalgia works. I think they could have cut about 75% of the stories to tighten it all up. But I get what Marvel was going through at the time, how they were flying by the seat of their pants, desperate for money, and so they stretched things out. Over the years, I've learned to be more accepting of comic stories and not to get overly invested in them. So the Clone Saga basically broke you from, helped prepare you for the world today. Okay, that works. Try not to get overly invested in personally. When a series goes a direction I don't like, I just quietly stop buying. Not sure why I don't freak out online anymore. Maybe I just got old. Happens to the best of us. Too long didn't read. I just did. It was my first taste of a larger, interconnected world in comics. Costumes, designs inspired me to draw, and a healthy dose of nostalgia for who I was back when I first read them. Thanks for making videos discussing comics. I really don't know anyone else who's into comics anymore in my boring adult life, so it's nice to keep it alive for reviewers. And there is this guy makes their own graphic novels and sells them on Amazon. Be happy to promote them. I'll do that in a different video, and happy to do that. Definitely appreciate the subject matter. So, the Clone Saga. I mean, as I mentioned before, the Clone Saga is a funny one because it was definitely appreciated by buyers at the time. People did go for it. They liked it. It was very 90s storytelling in a lot of ways. It definitely had some of those kind of extreme tropes, and it was definitely trying to, I don't know. People have described it as the Poochie of Spider-Man. That's a bit unfair, but the definite truth was people liked it. It sold okay. It did fine. Years later, it became a major problem, and then people hated it and hated everything it became. I think that in many ways, Marvel almost took the wrong lessons from it because they Marvel has distanced themselves a lot from the Clone Saga and kind of gone in pretty heavily on, that comic, trying to kind of either forget it ever happened or retconning part of it, or now they're doing the thing with Ben Reilly and Chasm that may turn out well. I don't know, but the challenge that I think Marvel has is that they haven't settled themselves on what to think of it. A lot of their writers, most likely, grew up with the Clone Saga and liked it. Unironically liked it. But they're also, very desperate and needy and want to be popular. And so the writers will basically say, well, even though I liked it and I want to touch on it and do something with it, I really didn't actually like it. So I'm going to kind of make fun of it. And it feels like that's where a lot of the stories we have today have gone, of trying to kind of, reference it because it's what they grew up with. It's the same way, by the way, I think a lot of Marvel writers feel about Jubilee, where very few people actually liked that character. The character was not one of Claremont's best creations. But, and a lot of people remember Jubilee not from the comics at all, but from the TV show. And so you have this situation where, a lot of writers will do things like with Jubilee. I mean, hell, Donny Cates put Jubilee into his, Space Avengers or Guardians and Cosmic Ghost Rider. And Jubilee was, it's like, Jubilee, badass, enough said. And it's like, nobody actually thinks that. It's just this trying to be kind of ironic and fun with part of the pop culture. It's a weird piece. Nostalgia is a hell of a beast in comics for sure. At any rate, like I said, I didn't love the Clone Saga as a reader. I didn't particularly enjoy it. It felt to me like a 90s cash grab. That's how it always kind of came across in my mind. But definitely there were people who were into it. It sold well. And don't let anybody tell you that, everybody hated that storyline was one of the worst storylines. Spider-Man has had many worse storylines. The Sins Past storyline was worse. The Other, I think, was worse. One More Day was definitely worse. The Clone Saga, it's fine. It's dated. Again, it feels like the era it came from. And, in some ways that's a bad thing. But I don't know. I'm curious. So let me know what you think. Did you like the Clone Saga? Who will cop to reading it and enjoying it? And have you looked at it later? Like the reader said, I went back and read it like 3 years ago, and I didn't enjoy it more. I'll put it that way. And I do think that observation of you could have cut like 70% of it and been fine is correct. But there you have it. So. Do you like the Clone Saga? Do you remember it? Did you read it? What do you think? It's better than a lot of. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'll take the Clone Saga over the Krakoa era any day of the week right now. Thanks for listening.